Ryan told me to meet him out here in this abandoned shopping mall parking lot, but I have not seen him at all. I'm getting a little bit worried. It's kind of sketchy out here, if I'm honest. It's not the safest of places, and it's getting to be dark out. But anyway, welcome to Outside, Inside, Outside Racing. I am Ian.
And I'm Ryan.
You are, and this is your GD3 Honda Fit. I thought you said that your brakes sucked.
Oh, they did, but I made them unsuck by replacing the brake shoes.
I guess that makes sense. That's how you make them not suck anymore.
That's right, sucker.
I guess I'm the sucker. We skipped a bunch of steps, and we got to fit in the air. Because it kind of needs to be in the air before you do the things to it.
Right you are, Ken. So, rear drum brakes. Nope. All right, here we go. So we're gonna blast off the wheel first. Then we're gonna blast off our spacers here. All right, spacers off. Now the drum's actually not held on with anything.
Except for rust.
Yes.
And there
So
it comes,
one good pop.
Bang. Why are your drums so easy to... I've never had drums that are this easy to work on.
Because I worked on them. So the next part in our drum brake assembly, we have a few parts here. So what actually actuates it when you press down on your brake pedal is this here. This is called the wheel cylinder. This guy here has two little hydraulic cylinders that push out. And when they push out, that's what pushes on the inside of your drum. This is the one part we're not replacing. We're gonna blast the rest of this apart. So I'm just gonna pull the hub out of the center, and really the whole cartridge will just fall down. That's what's cool about a Fit.
Good.
The hub has holes in it, and then you have 4 bolts that hold on your hub assembly.
Got it.
So we're just gonna go through the center there until get on the bolt there. And really what we need...
Here's what I got. I'm putting it together. Putting it together right now. Goes like that, and then like this. That?
Yes. Outside of our socket here was not completely centered on there. And there.
The tough one.
Yeah,
there goes the socket.
That one I obviously tightened down. The rest, not so sure about.
Not so much.
But using extra extensions always gets rid of the torque on your wrench there. You'll see it's not really super tight.
Yeah, it just
We're just
can't.
losing all the torque with the extension.
Right.
So we got our bolts here, and then here is our hub assembly. Should all pop off here. Maybe.
No kidding.
So once again, held on here with rust. So you've got a couple of cables back here. Pick tool should be able to move this little tab over, and that'll slide right up. We've got it loose right there and right there. So there we go, we're nice and free. So I forgot I actually should have done this a different way. Actually, the first thing I want to do is pop that nut loose, and that's what takes that.
Oh yeah, it comes off of there, right? Yeah. A word to the wise, take this cap off first, before you take the bolts out. Otherwise it'll be hard to get bolts back in, hold it in place, and it's just a pain in the ass. Hey, movement. Right into your lap. Just what you wanted. Okay. That looks like a 30?
Yep.
And it's got the little dimple indent thing in it that keeps it in place. There she goes. Takes a second for them to spin off with that dimple pressed in. But look at that hub, it's right out of there.
So the only other thing here, and you got to be real careful of these, is the wheel speed sensor here. So that wire can be damaged pretty easily.
Yep.
So it's a good idea to blast that guy out too. Yep. Yours will be stuck.
Yeah, Ryan's
These-
had his out before, so it'll probably come out. But yeah, yours is definitely going to be stuck completely in there, and you won't be able to get it out. You'll break it, then you'll have to drill it out, and then put in a new one.
But this is what makes the GD better than all the rest of them.
Okay.
This right here is the fact that this comes off, and you can put shims behind it.
You can put shims behind it, yeah.
Now, an important thing when you're working on your drum brakes here is to make sure you leave one side together
So you can inspect it. Yeah.
and figure out what you're missing
Yep.
and what you're doing wrong.
Yep, which spring goes where, and et cetera, et cetera.
So we're just going to leave that guy on there like that. Leaves our drum brake cassette ready to go. Back in the day, when people were having drum brakes on all corners, they would just exchange this whole piece, and they called it the cassette.
Like not an 8-track.
What we're going to do is, to remind myself of what we're doing here, is we're going to take a picture of this, so if I need to refer back to it, I can. We just need to see all the different little colored springs. Since we've got all new parts, what I like to do is assemble my parts on the ground, what it's going to look like here. There is going to be some parts that'll be reused. The spring assembly kit does not include our adjuster, which is this guy right here. We'll take that part and reuse that.
Shoebox. Coming up, racing shoes. You gotta have proper shoes for racing.
Yes, and these are the proper ones.
Oh yeah,
These are premium Wagners.
Wagoners.
Most of the parts that I get for a fit come from Rock Auto, from the no warranty
Yeah.
section. Because who's going to warranty racing stuff anyways?
Yeah, right.
So you come to find out that most shoes are the same back and forth, front and back. And if they're not, a lot of times it'll tell you on there, front, back, whatever. But if you look at these pretty close, you'll see they pretty much mirror
They
each
can
other.
Go either way. Yep.
They're the same thing. The other two, yep, all the same thing.
Everything's all the same.
So you can also see how thick this is right here and how thin this is right here. The back one does not look as bad, but this is on the leading edge, so this is going to be the first one to hit. So basically this will make my drift stick work.
Yay!
It looks like these will work just fine. So the next step is to undo all the springs on here. Now, something very cool about drum brakes, I'll show you here in a minute, but how they connect up, a lot of times you can pull half these springs and pull them out as a whole assembly. We're going to try it. So we've got some couple different springs that do a couple different things. You can see this guy coming in right here. That guy there is going to our parking brake, and that will actually pull on this lever here. And it looks like this lever is attached to this pin up here. So we're going to leave that attached for now and pull some of these other springs we have here. This guy here is what holds together the bottom. You can see that's what that does. These springs you'll find are usually pretty sprung. So they're kind of hard to pull off there and work around. So stuff like this, I'm going to leave it. What I am going to do though is pull it and put it on this other side here. This guy here will need to come off. This one here is not sprung as much, but you can see sometimes they have different ends. This one is the same side by side. So as we take this off, we're going to put it on the ground here, just like we're putting together our assembly. That one goes upright on the left-hand side. And after pulling that, you can see we can work out this little jiggle pin here. What all this thing does is it sets on the adjuster and doesn't allow it to move once it's been adjusted. It can only move one way.
Yep.
The other stuff that's holding us actually to the back of the drum here is these ones right here.
Ah, the pins.
And what that looks like, so this part here goes in the back of the drum, then this goes through, and this spring clip goes on there, goes through there and twists on. So that right there is what we have holding it on. And what we can see here is those springs right there. You can see those things smash down pretty good, and this is pretty hard to collapse as is. So there's a lot of pressure there, and having that much pressure over that long is going to wear them out. How do you remove these? I like to use my standard, just flat tip pliers, grab the tip of them, squish them, push in, and twist.
Hopefully there it goes.
Just like that.
That spring clip
As
doesn't
you can
move with
see, if you twist it like that, it'll come right off. I'm going to set this guy on this side as we put together our assembly down there. So once again, push, twist, pop off. And you'll see this is getting a lot looser. So where is it still stuck? It's stuck behind these plates right here. So we'll pull that around there, pull that around there. And look at that. There's our whole shoe assembly. The other thing we need to pull is our parking brake spring. You can see here, it's just a long spring in between here and a cable, and it hooks around here. So what I like to do on these springs, some needle nose pliers. I like these longer ones that are bent a little bit. And you get underneath the bottom of this spring here and push up. Then you get to a piece of the cable, grab a hold of it, and then you can work it right out through the back. So what also helps is to pull on it a little bit, get some room there. So once again, I just pulled it away from the shoe, which pulls against the spring, which is why there's pressure there. Slowly chopping off my finger. That's all right.
That's good.
I've done this before.
Yeah, that's why
Another smart way to do that might be to jam something in there.
Right, it's about finger sized.
Yep. And just push it down and around.
It's being a real turd.
You know, you will say some bad words when you're working on drum brakes.
Jesus.
But after you figure out which tools you like and which tools do the work the best, they're really not that bad.
He keeps saying that, but it's fighting him an awful lot. Hey!
So this
Great
is
success.
There's our shoes right there.
Shoes.
So then we're going to use this assembly to create our new assembly. We have our assembly here. We have our new shoes here, and we have a new hardware kit. So I'm going to try and match up our springs. All these are just chrome. Looks like this guy here is going to be our orange one, so we're going to set that down there. We have two other ones, one kind of a yellow color and one kind of a green color. So our green one, it's got a short end and a long end, and then our yellow one has got those crooked ends. That's going to be the one we took off back there, the very first one. So we're going to set that guy back over there with that one. This green one's going to be our top one here. So you can see it matches up just like that. So we're going to put that green one there. Now, for assembly, we can see the tip of this spring comes up. So we're just going to do that. Hook there, hook there. Now for our next piece up here, the easiest way to get this apart is to just pull it apart. Usually.
Your problem is that you keep saying the word easy.
I don't think he knows what that word means.
You keep using that word.
It'd be much easier if I would have just got the adjuster and everything.
There she goes.
So all we did was pull on that spring till that guy came
Pull
out.
it apart until it comes out.
Now to pull this guy apart here, you can see it's like a horseshoe. After you've got a little bit of space here, what you'll see how these clips work is if you push your screwdriver into there and then pry down like this, you can see it starts to spread apart because of the chamfer on the back side of this. So you work yourself back and forth, prying on these, and pretty soon you'll have enough space to push it towards the back, and then we'll spin it around, but you can see you can hook it then and pull it out. So if you just put some pressure down on it, then I should be able to.
You should be able to put that screwdriver right through my hand.
Yep, that's the plan.
There she goes. Finally.
There's our pin.
Yeah.
There's our clip. There's our spring washer. So we're going to grab the other shoe before we lose how this goes together. We're going to bring this guy over, set it right there. That's how it goes in. But first off, we're going to clean this up a little bit. We're going to put a little bit of grease right there. On the backhand side here, you can see where it's rubbed a little bit. So you're going to see that on these parts. I mean, it's metal on metal. This is why a lot of times drum brakes, you'll hear a little bit of... That's that metal there. You don't want to put a bunch on here because, yeah, the heat will make it disappear. This is caliper grease here. So this is meant for this high heat application.
Heat stuff. Yeah.
Clean up our pin. We're going to put a little bit of grease on that as well. So all of this stuff that moves needs a little bit of grease. We're just going to put a little touch on here. And slide it up from the back side. When they paint these, they don't necessarily look to see if...
if it's going to change the clearances or not.
Yep.
Yeah. So it doesn't just slide in, but it'll tap in. It's got to go past that paint, powder coat, whatever it is that's on there.
Okay, there's our pin. You can see our grease is still around there. That's good. Slide that guy on. Spring washer on. And once again, we'll just push a little bit of that around there. Spring washer, and then we have our clip here, which just slides on. You can see it puts pressure on that spring clip. So it'll usually just stay together just like that. But we needed to lock it in. So we'll turn this around where we can work with our pliers again. Got our spring clip here. Bring our pliers in and just squish it right around there. You can see that rotates freely. All this works freely. Give it a little bit more squish on it. There you go. And it's obviously not going to come apart. And there's that shoe. This one's ready to attach to our spring assembly. All right, now we have our adjuster assembly here. You can see there's threads on there. That's how much it's been adjusted out to compensate for the wear. What we're going to do here is to clean this guy up. You can see these are also reverse threads. I'm turning to the left, it's tightening. Righty-tighty right now is getting righty-loosey. While you have all this stuff apart, it's a great time to clean this up and lube it up, because hopefully you'll never have to do this job again. 222,000 on this car, and this is the first time the brakes have been touched. So, drum brakes, that is. Front brakes last about 10,000 miles if you drive like a maniac. So once again, lefty-loosey to tighten it back up, and you can see we got some grease spitting out of there. I'm gonna run it all the way down, let it squish out, and then I'm gonna run it back out. Make sure those threads are completely coated in that grease. Actually, I'm gonna take it back apart because I want grease all the way down the threads, but I don't want that much grease. Once again, this grease can fling around and get onto your shoes and reduce your braking performance.
Right.
So since it's all the way down the threads, we got it exactly where we want it to be. I'm just going to wipe up the excess, and we're going to leave that right there. And then our threads are nice and coated. We're going to lefty-loosey this thing on here. And for reassembly of this, we're actually going to run this all the way down. Now on cars that have been around for a really long time, I've actually seen these little adjuster saw teeth wear out, but this car, you can see they're still pretty sharp. That's just fine. Oh, there we go. We're all greased up. This is our parking brake side. So we're going to put this guy into here like that, and this side into here like that. Then it's time to attach our top spring here, which I think I know the holes, but I think we're going to have to look at the picture.
And all right, Ryan needs to look at the picture here. Go ahead. I don't know what you're looking for.
Yes. So it does hook into these little triangle holes here. So it goes from there, that's where it starts, and it hooks over to that one. And you may say, well, this spring's stiff, I can't get it over there. Well, there's a solution. You hook it together like that, and then you pull this apart.
Until you get the adjuster back in its little nook there. And then you stretch her out. Boom!
There we go. There's our top part assembled. So we are missing our little piece right here. This guy here actually folds under this one here. So we're going to pull it apart a little bit. Actually, we're going to see if we can fold it down like that.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks like the way to go, doesn't it? Just got to slide past there, and there it is.
And there we go.
Beauty.
So,
and that's the clicker for the adjuster, right? That only lets it go one way.
Yep. Now, the bottom wants to spring apart, so we're going to put our orange spring on there. Now, if you remember right, our hooks went out. So we're going to put our hook out there, and then our hook out there, and there we go. That's the assembly we pulled off of here. But I'm going to talk about the backing plate for a second before we put our assembly in there. So on our backing plate here, you'll see our pins hanging out. We're going to replace these with the new pins. I'm going to pull those out for now. Another thing you'll notice is you'll see various spots that have rust and have been rubbed on. So these pads here is actually where the shoes ride, and they'll actually slide back and forth on this a little bit. So you can see there's wear spots on your backing plate. So you always want to check and make sure these aren't worn too thin. And the other thing you want to do is put a little dab of grease on them, because once again, a lot of drum brakes are metal on metal. So we're going to put just a little bit of grease on these right here. Once again, never too much, because this will go everywhere if you get too much. And if you don't use something nice, high quality, high temperature, like caliper grease, don't even do it. Not worth it. So another thing here is never press down the brakes when you have this stuff apart, because this wheel cylinder here, you can see how I pushed it in, it's kind of just pushing back out. These things will go shooting out and you'll lose all your brake fluid.
Yep.
But these pads right here, this is where that sits, right behind here. Once again, metal on metal.
Yep.
Any place you have metal on brakes, calipers or drums, you should put just the tiniest bit of grease. So we're going to do a little bit there. So everything's prepped and ready to put back together. But once again, the first thing we need to do is get that silly parking brake shoe back in there. So to space this guy out, we're going to try and do this smarter this time. Work smarter, not harder. We're going to use one of our bolts. Seems like a good idea. We're going to set that in there so we have an actual space to work with there. We're going to use these here. You can see we can create a little bit of space there. They're just sliding up. But then we're going to push these together, hold on to the end here, push this guy up, and then get a good grip on it. And then we want to hook it in behind there.
Hey!
And we're good to go.
Back in a whole lot easier than coming out, huh?
And now the fun part. Because it's all been fun, right? You'll see this guy here. You need to slide that in there. That's where that thing lives. So this thing is not going to want to go together because it's spring loaded. So what we need to do is side by side. So we're going to start with this side because we want to make sure that's in where it needs to go. These little tabs here, if you show a little closer, you'll see there's slots in these as well. There's slots on both sides where these fit. And guess what? Metal on metal. So we're going to do just the tiniest bit of grease right there and right there. So we're going to do this back side first. So we're going to slide that into that one. You'll see that it's trying to push this side out. So into there, into there. You can see we lost our bottom spring, but this guy here is not that sprung.
Not too hard to put on.
Which I am just going to do this.
Yeah, just pull it out. That makes sense. And stretch it back out.
So then slide it back up. There you go. There you go. So we are on there. Now, but we're not held down to the backing plate. That's where our new pins and springs go. You saw how easy those were to remove? They're not so easy to put on. These things are strong. It's so strong, it's even tearing up these new pins. Let's look at our OE stuff and compare. Our OE stuff, we've got a lot bigger head on there. I think we're going to go back with these. And I would say 9 times out of 10, most people don't get the hardware kit. I just like the colors.
And sometimes OE stuff is just better. You know, like this hardware kit came with maybe the spring clip's nice and sturdy and maybe too stiff, and then the pin is made of junk metal. So, you know, if it seems better to go back with OE stuff, then you go back with OE stuff because it's your car. You know, you make the call. Ray Bestis or whoever made the kit, they don't get to decide what's right for your car. You do.
So we're going to push in on this again. As you saw, they're pretty easy to come apart, but You need to push down the spring and just turn it.
Yeah, there's something
Yeah.
about the design of that clip too that made that easier.
Yes,
Than the
agreed.
other one. Even though it's got plenty of spring to it, it's got like a little groove or something in it that made it like click click, and you could almost hear it working. You know.
Well, and what you'll find with a lot of these brake kits is it's all just generic junk,
Yeah.
just thrown together.
Yeah.
So this one, well, like you see, is in good shape as well. And if yours are all rotted out, replace the brake hardware. It's cheap. For this one, whatever. We're reusing it.
I think it's fine. Approved.
So we're held good to the backing plate. Everything is on there. So the only other thing we're missing is our little spring to hold our detent here. This guy here. And if I remember right, it went from hooked in here to back in there. So we're going to pull down with the hook tool. Just push it in there. Come on.
Get in there.
There we go. So that's just got to hold tension against there. And the reason being is we're going to adjust it and push this out, and this will ratchet against this piece. So it all needs to be held tight.
Yep.
So there we go. There's that assembly.
So after this, Ryan reinstalled his spindles and his brand new hubs. He also put on some honed development camber and toe plates, and we'll highlight all of that in another video. So now we'll jump ahead to putting on the drums.
These here, I ran the adjusters all the way down, and we need to run them out a little bit. So I'm going to do a few turns here. Now you can only turn these one way. Now if they're already out a little bit, you can turn them both ways.
Yeah.
Now if you see here, like it doesn't want to turn if I'm pushing up.
Right.
So you adjust them out a little bit and then try and fit your drums. So I've got new drums here. They don't normally come painted black. I like to paint mine just so better rust protection. We spin it around. There's no drag. All I can feel is the drag of the wheel bearing. So we pull our drum off again and we adjust again until we get drag. All right, gave it 3 big pushes there. We'll try our drum again. We're a little tighter sliding on that time. Oh, and we got some drag. So you want to spin it around a couple times because these shoes won't be centered yet. They can slide around on the backing plate. So I've got some drag on there, but not enough drag for new shoes. We're almost there. There we go. We're going to try that.
And he also doesn't mind a drag queen brunch.
That's right.
Hamburger Mary's.
Yep. Last time I was there, they had to have me on stage.
Nice.
It's not unusual that I end up on stage at a drag show.
For the big guy to end up on stage at the drag show.
All right, so that is a lot of drag there, actually. That is too much.
You went too far.
As you can see, it wants to stop.
There is such a thing as too much drag.
So we're going to pull that off. Like I showed you, for this thing to go back up, it doesn't want to do it. This little tab here, you have to actually pull it out a little bit to make this go back. Unfortunately, I have to put my finger in here where you can't see it. And I just pushed it up just a tiny bit. There we go.
Better.
So, once again, that's pretty heavy drag on there, but these are brand new and they're going to wear a bunch the first time I use them. So,
Yep.
That's it for installing your drum brakes. So, if you are installing aftermarket lug nuts, the other thing to watch for is you have 2 different seats on your face of your wheel. You have ball seat and you have 45-degree seat. Now these are ball seat ones because these factory wheels have ball seats on their faces of the wheels.
Are they also called Acorn, or is Acorn different?
It may be called Acorn as well. I know in German car world they're called ball seat.
Well, because Germans make sense. Why
Yes.
would you call it an Acorn after a nut? Yeah.
Once again, run them down by hand, kind of push your wheel on there while you do it, and torque them. And if you're really strong, you can just hold these by hand. Ladies love it.
Yeah. That's a fun
cheating
technique.
way.
Yeah, it's a cheater.
And there you go. You're the coolest guy on the block.
Oh, yeah.
Because you
That's
can torque your wheels without a helper.
You can torque your nuts.
Yes. I've had a lot of practice. So now all we got to do is tear apart the other side and get it done. Let's get to it.
Good?
Yep. Hold on. Yep. Good. Got a better brake pedal already. That's great.
The brakes seem to work.
All right, so bedding in brakes. There's lots of different rules of thumb with this. What I like is a bunch of slow stops, a few medium stops, and then one hard one.
Yeah.
And then go back and let it cool off.
Yep.
So we're just I'm lightly applying the brakes here as we're driving around.
This is an important step that often gets skipped because people think you can just put on brake pads. And you know what? For the normal, like shade tree mechanic and whatnot, or somebody who's never changed their brake pads before, you're going to be like, hey, I did it. I'm done. You're not done. You got to do the step of bedding in the brakes, because if you don't, they'll get glazed over and basically negate all the work that you did.
We're going to slowly get a little bit faster here. All right, we've done a bunch of slow stops, so I'm going to try some medium ones now. So we're going about 20 miles an hour. I'm just going to go down to 0. We'll take off again. So this is about 30. We're going to go down to about 5 here. Okay.
You're just eating off those first few layers of the shoes.
So we did about 3 30 to 0s there. We should be getting pretty good heat in there. So we're going 40 miles an hour now. I'm going to give it a little bit more aggressive.
Aggressive!
There we go. It's 20. And we're going to do that again. Okay, we're going 40 again.
Aggressive!
A little bit more. Okay. So to finish it off, we only need to do one more bigger brake. So we're going to run it up a little bit higher this time.
Just does a 90-degree corner down here, so it's a good place to really slam it. Hopefully
60.
they work.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they
She
work
gets
good.
twitchy under braking.
Yeah,
too.
for sure it did. Yeah.
It was getting wiggly.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You can feel that toe out working.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have a stop here, so I'm just going slow on the brakes.
Yeah, because you kind of want to let them cool off after you get aggressive with them too. That's another part of the bedding process. All right. Well, that's it then. Drum brakes on a 220,000 mile Honda Fit.
Right. And if yours is about that kind of mileage, that might be something you want to do, something you look into. It's always good to have a great parking brake system, especially if you have a manual. You don't want that running away.
And it's fun to do cool slides and such as well. Yeah.
Right, mainly
But
that.
it's going to help you on the track, no matter whether you're doing, if you want to take your Fit out to a track day, to an autocross, to a rally cross, whatever you might want to do with it, it can do it.
Right.
It's going to be better at it if you replace those rear drum brakes. You treat it right, and the car will treat you right, and you can go do whatever you want with it. In fact, you could even
Find your own apex.
because
It's better late than never.
yeah, woo.